Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and a look at my Whitmoor cardigan. So this sweater is, I'm calling it the Whitmoor Cardigan by Amy Loudon, even though I didn't exactly use that pattern. So I had previously purchased and made the Whitmoor sweater in the past, and I can pop up a quick picture over here of that version of the sweater. And I really lamented that I didn't get the cardigan pattern. The cardigan pattern I think is $10, which for me is a little pricey. And so I couldn't really justify buying the cardigan pattern when I already had the pullover. So I decided to sort of hack it myself to get something that looked very similar. So in order to make this, I just used the pullover pattern of the sweater pattern, and I used the cast on amount plus 7 additional stitches. And the reason why I added 7 additional stitches is because I knew I needed to sort of mirror that lace bit that's right here next to the button band. So that's 3 stitches wide. And then I added 2 edge stitches on each side. So that gave me an extra 7 stitches. I know that in the actual Whitmoor cardigan pattern, the button band is knitted up at the same time as the rest of the sweater, so it's done all in one go. However, I've never done a sweater like that, and I wasn't entirely sure how to go about doing that, and it seemed like I needed to have needles or different size needles in addition to the one I was using going back and forth. So I decided to just do it the way I've always done button band pickups, which is to have those 2 extra edge stitches, and then I'll pick up in between those edge stitches after the fact and do a double knit button band. For the buttonholes on this, I've actually used a new to me technique, and it's the one that Petite Knit uses in her Agnique cardigan, where you do the buttonholes without ever having to break the yarn. Normally, I've always broken the yarn when I'm doing buttonholes in my double knit band. So that was a really cool technique. I was really excited about it. It worked really well. The buttonholes look almost invisible. So, I mean, there are buttonholes here and here, but you can see, you can barely see them unless I'm like stretching it out. But yeah, it works really well. I also have chosen to use these sort of, I don't know if they're brass buttons, some sort of metal. I thought it really set off the color really well. So for the yarns I'm using in this, these are both Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, and both of them are in the colorway Copper. I had previously used Rust, so I had somebody said that they really loved the Copper colorway, so I had to try it. I quite like these sort of muted oranges. I think they look really good with my hair coloring, and I'm excited to wear this more in the fall because the mohair in here, it is quite a warm sweater. So in terms of amounts, I used 3 and a partial ball of the merino, so I would have needed 4 balls. And of the soft silk mohair, I believe I broke into all 5 of the skeins that I had. So I did have a whole skein of merino left over, so I have to figure out something to do with that. I tend to have a lot of that merino left over, so I think I might like gather up all of the different colors that I have at one point, and maybe I can make a stripy tank top or something with them, because I definitely have a lot of like oddball skeins of merino. I really like how this turned out. I think that the neckline is a little wide. Of course, that's something that I noticed on the pullover pattern as well. But looking at other people's, I think that's not necessarily an artifact of me hacking this together, and more just the nature of the pattern because it's that circular yoke. One thing is that in the pullover pattern, she breaks for the sleeve separation before you finished the motif. So you break for the sleeve separation and then you continue doing the motif on the sleeves and the body. It fit really well the last time I did it, so I wanted to go ahead and continue on with that. I noticed that in the actual cardigan pattern itself, she does the entire motif before splitting for the sleeves. And a lot of people complained that it ended up with their yoke being quite low down, so it means you can't like lift your arms and stuff like that. So that's one aspect where I think using this pattern definitely worked out in my favor. The other thing I had to pay attention to was ease. So for her cardigan pattern is written for 0 to 3 inches of ease, whereas the sweater pattern I think was written for like 4 to 10 inches of ease. So I did have to drop down in sizes in order to get that same sort of look as the cardigan, because I did want something that was a little bit more fitted, a little bit, you know, something that I can like tuck into trousers and wear to work and something like that. So I believe I ended up making an extra small in this, where I should have made a small or a medium based on my measurements for the sweater. But because I wanted that less ease, I went with the extra small. I did find the sleeves are a little bit tight. So I think this arm right here was a little bit tight, and I sort of aggressively blocked to get it out, be a little bit wider. It's fine now. And I don't know if you can tell, but I did a slight difference between the two sleeves. So in this one, I followed the pattern, which was to, you know, do the lace motif and then start decreasing immediately. And then I ended up needing to do another 40 rows before I got to the length that I liked. So on this side, I did 20 of my rows up here before starting my decreasing. So, I mean, I decreased at the same rate on both of these sleeves, but the decreasing starts a little bit lower, starts closer to the elbow on this sleeve than it does on this sleeve. And it's just enough to give me the sort of ease that I like. So I may go back in the future, we'll see, and rip this sleeve back up, or maybe I could probably cut it and then knit those additional 20 rows and then graft it back on, and then take off down here at the bottom. I might do that. That sounds like a little bit more feasible for me. The thing about me is I hate doing sleeves. So the idea of like knitting an entire new sleeve just sounds abhorrent to me. Even though a sleeve only takes me a day and a half, I still can't imagine redoing a whole sleeve. So I might cut it, put in the extra stitches, and then graft it back together. And that might even out the sleeves. I don't know. You tell me if you think the two sleeves right now look completely different. Like, is it worth doing because it fits now? That would just give me a little bit extra ease on this side. So obviously the focal point of this pattern is this lovely lacework design. I'm really stuck. I don't know what these central decreases are supposed to be. So the way that the pattern is written, I think it's supposed to be a central double decrease. However, it doesn't tell you that you're supposed to slip both of those stitches together. It just says slip 2 stitches. The first time that I made it, I did not do a central double decrease. I think the first time I made it, I did a slip, knit 2 together, and then pass that one slipped stitch over. And that gave me sort of like diagonal slash lines going down that decrease, which I thought looked fine. It was a lot more flat. It's not as three-dimensional. And looking at the original designer's photos, I think that might be closer to what she is wanting, because she tends to have those sort of like diagonal slash lines in here. But then this time I second guessed myself and I'm like, no, it's a central double decrease. So I did that, and then I had to learn how to do a central double decrease on the purl side, of course, because it's a cardigan, you're knitting this flat instead of in the round. So I learned how to do it on the purl side. I am not sure that that is correct, because you do get these sort of like ditches in between each where you're not doing that decrease, where I didn't have that sort of variation in the texture in the last sweater I have done. So I'm not entirely sure what the decreases is supposed to be, but in any matter, this is what a central double decrease looks on it. You get that sort of raised up central stitch going down the length of each of those scallops. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at my Whitmoor cardigan, and I'll see everyone next time. Take care.